I knew it was over the second she rolled her eyes. Not in that jokey, oh you kinda way, no. This was the dead-eyed, passive-aggressive HR-grade eye roll that says, you've been marked. I had just asked for 5 damn days off. 5. After 8 months straight of back-end hell, duct-taping half-baked feature flags, and waking up to pager duty alerts like some PTSD-ridden raccoon clawing through production logs at 3 a.m. And she, Melissa, VP of Growth and Experience, who once bragged about deleting Slack from her phone to prioritize inner peace, blinked slowly, sipped her chlorophyll water, and said, I mean, isn't now kind of a weird time to go on vacation? Weird time? The only thing weird was how she managed to pronounce boundaries like a curse word. I hadn't taken PTO since the IPO rumors started swirling, back when we still had a real DevOps team and not a spreadsheet of LinkedIn influencers with titles like Flow Architect and Digital Empath. Now it was just me and the ghosts of layoffs past, holding the duct tape while everyone else tossed buzzwords like rice at a wedding. Oh, and while we're here, she added, like it was an afterthought, we're moving the flagship product launch up to next Friday. PR synergy with the Series D buzz. You'll be back by then, right? I stared at her. Next Friday is the middle of my PTO. Melissa waved her hand like I was a fly circling her oat milk foam. It's just a demo. The intern said staging's solid. We'll be fine. That's when the cold realization hit. She had no idea the staging server was wired directly to the launch demo. No mock data. No access control. No safety net. Just a fragile, unpolished mirror of prod I'd been keeping alive with hope, caffeine, and 7 different bash aliases named after mood swings. I opened my mouth, closed it, counted to 5. You know staging's not protected behind the firewall, right? If someone points the wrong DNS, it's basically public. Melissa smiled. That fake-ass corporate smile, like a realtor about to sell you a termite-riddled duplex. Thanks for the flag. But again, we've got it covered. I mean, not to be harsh, but sometimes I feel like you bring a little doomsday energy to the team. My eye twitched. Let's pause for a second, cause 97% of you listening probably aren't subscribed, and you're definitely not Melissa. So if you're vibing with this slow burn meltdown, hit that like and subscribe. It keeps the hamster dancing. Literally, you'll see anyway. I left her office, walked back to my corner of open concept hell, and sat at my terminal. My name was already gone from the Slack channel for the launch team. Just like that. Like I'd already clocked out, disappeared, erased. Melissa had her new crew now, mostly marketing folks in vests, a couple fresh grads who said things like let's MVP that mindset, and one intern named Tyler who thought Git was just a polite insult. I checked the DNS records, just checked, out of habit, and there it was. The staging subdomain still pointed to the open environment. No proxy, no access control, just dangling there like a nerve ending. I didn't touch it, not yet. Instead, I stared at my calendar. 5 days of freedom, 5 days in Joshua Tree. Me, a camp stove, some wine, and a hammock with a better personality than anyone in that entire glass-walled innovation space. The thing about being the last engineer standing, you know where the bones are buried. You know which wires are live. You know exactly how loud the silence will be when it all goes dark. By Monday morning, the office smelled like cucumber LaCroix and borrowed confidence. The new hires had arrived, fresh out of startup boot camps and overpriced WeWork incubators. Every single one of them looked like they'd been printed from the same Canva template. Pastel outfits, Apple Watches, and the kind of optimism that only exists when you've never been told that's not how DNS works. One of them, a guy named Dylan, or maybe it was Dylan, hard to tell under the man bun and ring light tan, introduced himself as a launch shepherd. When I asked what that meant, he smiled like I was a toddler asking where babies come from and said, I just like vibe with go lives. I make the moment happen. You ever hear your soul try to claw its way out through your ears? They didn't read docs, didn't check the ticket backlog, didn't even bother to verify what staging parity meant. But what they did do was form task forces. Slack threads bloomed like mold. Hash vibe check launch, hash go-to market energy, hash growth babies. No joke, that last one was real. It had 34 GIFs in the first 10 minutes. I searched hash infra and found nothing but a dead emoji reaction from 6 months ago. Melissa strutted through it all like a hen in a sea of golden eggs, high on her own curated chaos. Every sentence she uttered sounded like it had been dry cleaned by LinkedIn. Let's lean into the launch story. We're not building features, we're building feelings. The hamster is the user, and the wheel is the product journey. Okay, I made that last one up. It wouldn't have been out of place. Then came the dagger. She called an all hands. Great news, she beamed, pacing in front of a slideshow filled with stock photos of fireworks and vaguely diverse people high-fiving. We've officially aligned the flagship launch with our PR surge. Friday next week. It's going to be iconic. I didn't say a word, I just stared at the date. Friday next week. The exact midpoint of my PTO, not even subtle. I raised my hand. She saw it and pretended to check her phone. One of the launch shepherds gave me a pity nod like I'd just farted in church. The moment the meeting ended, I checked Slack. Error, you don't have permission to view this channel. The launch thread was gone. So was hash ops bridge. So was hash prod watch. They had scrubbed me like I was a dirty commit. As if the backend didn't exist before Tyler's bubble font roadmap showed up in Fig Jam, I messaged one of the new PMs, Jules, who at least had the decency to ask me once how firewalls worked. No response. 5 minutes later, my Slack DMs locked out. They didn't revoke my system access, though. That would have required knowing what I actually did. The tension wasn't loud. It didn't scream or slam doors. It hummed under the surface like a server fan on its last legs, the kind you don't hear until it stops. So I started planning. Not a tantrum, not sabotage, just options. Because when someone throws you out of the room you built, sometimes the best revenge is letting them sit in it while it collapses. Quietly, elegantly, pixel by pixel. On my last official day before PTO, I logged in early. Not to code, that ship had already been set on fire by a pirate crew of interns, but to send one final message. A courtesy, a professional handoff, a digital olive branch to a kingdom already mid-decay. I typed it slowly, choosing every word like it was being engraved in marble. Reminder: the current launch demo routes through staging. That environment is not access-controlled, not anonymized, and still reflects active dev branches. Recommend either rerouting to prod masked mirror or locking DNS. Happy to assist before EOD. I tagged Melissa. I tagged Tyler, who once said TLS sounded like a vitamin. I tagged the whole damn channel. Read receipts popped up. Melissa's icon hovered for a moment. Then came her reply, thumbs up, that's it. A single thumbs up emoji. No follow-up, no thanks, no action items. Just the digital equivalent of a drive-by nod from someone who thinks brake fluid is optional. And then, as if summoned by a committee of startup demons, she followed up in #growth babies, not even bothering to thread it. Let's keep the energy high, team. We don't need doomsday vibes. It's a vibe launch, not a fear launch. We got this. Flexed rainbow frog sparkles, they reacted with emojis. I stared at the screen, dead-eyed. I'd seen toddlers respond with more urgency after touching a hot stove. I sat there for a moment, letting the disbelief calcify into something colder. Not rage, not even resentment, just a kind of numb clarity. Like when you realize a bridge is collapsing and no one cares because the color palette of the cables matches the brand guidelines. Then, the quiet finality, I pulled up my terminal. Access still intact, they never offboarded me from the internal shell. Figures. Security's hard when your entire engineering turnover rate is faster than your cold brew keg. I navigated to the alerting system. My personal hooks, the ones I duct taped in to monitor DNS changes, certificate rotations, and environment pings, all humming quietly in the background like loyal little ghosts, monitoring a system no one else respected. One by one, I deleted them. Remove hook DNS alert me. Remove hook staging down me. Remove hook hamster failover ping. Gone, silent, no breadcrumbs, no snarky commit messages, just deleted. And as the final command blinked back at me confirming success, I closed the terminal and leaned back in my chair. They wanted the show without the scaffolding, the glamour without the groundwork, the glory without the grit. Fine. Let them have it, let them launch. Let them sing and dance and hashtag their way into oblivion. I was officially off the clock. DNS is a funny thing. Most people treat it like plumbing, boring until it explodes. But I've always thought of it more like stage lighting. Flip one switch and suddenly the crowd sees the understudy in a clown suit instead of the lead. And tonight, the clown was limber, animated, and dancing his pixelated ass off. It was Wednesday night. I had the terminal open in one window, a glass of boxed red in the other. Not celebration, not even revenge really, just closure, like flipping the porch light off after locking the front door for the last time. Dig staging launch to maincom still pointed to the internal mirror. No auth wall, no proxy. I checked the access logs, 0 hits outside the company IP range. Beautiful, pristine, untouched. Like a time bomb no one realized was already ticking. And then, without ceremony, I made the swap. ENS update staging launched maincom to 34.213. Roman 20, the public-facing IP of an old S3 bucket I owned, still in good standing, still perfectly compliant. I uploaded a single file, index.html. Inside was one glorious dancing hamster gif, looped eternally in the center of the screen. Above it, neon rainbow Comic Sans that read, "Welcome to the launch." Vibes are immaculate. Embedded was her old screen name, Melmel24, watermarked in the bottom right corner of the gif. An Easter egg, a little time capsule from her intern days, when she'd uploaded that hamster to our internal asset repo as a joke. Back when she used to ask engineers what acronyms meant instead of faking her way through meetings. I didn't deface anything. I didn't breach a single policy. I just redirected a live environment when they had left wide open despite 3 months of warnings. Legally, rock solid. Morally, let's call it performance art. I ran one last test from a clean IP. The hamster loaded instantly, bopping to an auto-looped MIDI beat that could melt the soul of any serious VC. Then I logged out, didn't bookmark it, didn't gloat. Just flipped my laptop shut like a coffin lid. The next morning, the Slack logs were quiet, all chirpy updates about launch blockers and alignment check-ins. No one noticed. Of course they didn't. Melissa's team didn't even know what staging was. They thought DNS was a document format. I once heard Tyler describe it as that thing you pay for annually. They were planning a $150 million product demo off an environment they didn't understand, couldn't secure, and had already lost control of. And the best part, we're about to find out live. The first thing I did when I crossed into the high desert was power down my phone. Not airplane mode, not do not disturb, powered down. Held the button until the screen went black and my entire body exhaled for the first time in months. Joshua Tree didn't care about launch timelines. The rocks didn't need Jira updates. The stars didn't send Slack pings at 3 a.m. I pulled into my rental, a beat-up Airstream parked under a canopy of brittle mesquite and ambition. Unpacked the essentials. Hammock, camp stove, portable speaker, one $9 bottle of wine with a raccoon on the label and my camera. Not for selfies, for proof. I knew at some point someone would ask where I was during the great hamster incident. I wanted a visual alibi, desert skies, a fire, and not a goddamn laptop in sight. The first night, I sat by the fire with the wine balanced on my knee, watching the flames curl like broken HTML tags. Above me, the stars freckled the sky like a bug tracker with no resolution. And I felt nothing. No guilt, no tension, no simmering background process of anxiety whirring in my gut. Just silence. The good kind. Back in the city, a different kind of fire was starting. I didn't see the Slack threads, obviously, but I'd left just enough signal in the system for breadcrumbs to scatter. I'd pulled my alert hooks, yes, but I knew the intern would notice the DNS pointer, eventually. Probably 30 minutes before the live stream. Maybe 15 if he skipped his cold brew run. If they tried to blame me, good luck. 2 weeks ago, I'd filed a formal memo through HR recommending a staging mirror with access control. CC'd legal. Linked the risk assessment. Tagged all the right people. Melissa never acknowledged it. Not even a perfunctory got it. But that doc existed. So did the Slack thread. So did the timestamp logs showing Tyler, and only Tyler, committing to the launch config 3 days before I left. As the fire cracked and the wine dried my throat, I imagined the first moment of panic. The VP squinting at the hamster, refreshing the screen, praying it was just cached. Then someone realizing there was no backup route. Legal asking questions. Then Melissa, pale and speechless, mouthing the word no on a live stream as the hamster twirled in MIDI glory. I didn't have to do anything else. I didn't have to touch prod. I didn't even have to gloat. I'd left a trail clean enough forensics would clap. The second night I took photos. Long exposures of the stars, my boots propped on a rock, my glass half full, the fire burning low. One perfect photo of my middle finger lit by moonlight, just in case I ever needed to remember how it felt to finally let go. Day 3, I didn't think about work at all. Just watched a coyote trot past my campsite, tail high, no concern in its eyes. That's the energy I wanted. Untamed, unbothered, apolitical, and as far from Slack emojis as possible. I didn't watch it live. God, no. I was hiking through Skull Rock with a protein bar in my pocket and 3 bars of signal on a burner phone I kept off for emergencies or schadenfreude. When I got back to camp, wind burnt and sun warmed, I cracked open my last can of off-brand sparkling water and finally powered it on. The first text hit before the lock screen even fully loaded. Yo, watch the launch recording. Holy F then, was that you? You're a legend. Melissa is going to eat drywall. I had 43 notifications. LinkedIn messages, DMs from ex-coworkers I hadn't heard from since the Series C purge. One of them, bless her, sent a clipped screen recording. No commentary, just the raw feed. I watched it by the fire, earbuds in, the sun just starting to slide behind the rocks. It opened on an overproduced intro, cinematic drone footage, synth-heavy music, animated product slides whizzing past generic terms like efficiency, vision, and ecosystem. Then the stream cut to the launch stage, minimal, modern, painfully beige. Melissa strutted out in a silk blouse like she was about to sell the future of tech to a room full of cult members. Welcome, everyone, she beamed, like she hadn't just spent 6 months siphoning off every engineer with a working moral compass. Today, we're thrilled to unveil the next evolution of our platform, an experience so intuitive, so seamless. It practically runs itself. She tapped the remote, the screen behind her flickered, and there he was, the hamster, pixelated, gyrating in his 1997 glory, dancing in a loop. Rainbow Comic Sans flashing above him, welcome to the launch. The vibes are immaculate. The crowd froze. A full 5 seconds passed. Melissa tried to speak, choked out a nervous giggle like it was part of the bit. Okay, looks like a fun little Easter egg from our team. She glanced at someone off camera, her smile twitching at the edges. Let's just reload the demo another flicker. The hamster again, still dancing. MIDI beat chirping through the speakers like a haunted Nokia ringtone. Then someone zoomed in, and there it was, bottom right corner of the screen, clear as day, Melmel24. Give her old screen name, an Internera joke asset. Recycled, resurfaced, and now reanimated in front of thousands. The camera stayed live. Melissa's face drained to chalk. The audio hot mic, poor soul, picked up her whisper. No, 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 no. What the F? Someone off camera muttered. Is this staging? Another voice, where's Tyler? Cut to black. I laughed so hard I almost choked on a roasted marshmallow. Later, I'd find out the live stream trended on Twitter within 20 minutes. VC group chats lit up with screenshots. A YouTuber made a remix by noon, and someone on Reddit started a meme thread titled "Don't Be the Hamster." But in that moment, in that quiet, dusty campsite with the desert wind howling like a dev finally off call, I just smiled, raised my can to the firelight, and whispered back, "No, no, no, yes." By sunrise the next day, the hamster had a fan club. Twitter sorry X was ablaze. One clip had hit 2 million views before I even brushed my teeth. Somebody had layered the hamster over a dubstep remix of Melissa saying "seamless" on loop. Another genius synced it to the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme and posted it with the caption, "When you replace your engineers with vibes." And the crown jewel? A freeze frame of Melissa mid-blink, hamster gif in the background, her mouth twisted in a death spiral of denial. Caption, product of the year. I didn't laugh, not out loud anyway. Just sipped my campsite coffee in perfect silence as the desert wind blew dust over my tent stakes and the birds chirped like they hadn't just witnessed a tech execution. From what I could gather in the few texts I skimmed, the fallout was biblical. The Series D lead investor, the same one who'd called our backend elegant and undervalued just 6 weeks ago, pulled out within 12 hours. Another backed out of the acquisition talks entirely, citing concerns over infrastructural transparency. The launch video was yanked offline by noon, but not before 100 clips went viral and someone minted a damn NFT of the hamster loop. Capitalism is a disease. The platform, pulled from beta, site down, under maintenance banner slapped across the homepage in Comic Sans as if the universe had a sense of humor. Internally, the bloodbath began before lunch. Melissa held an emergency Zoom, no cameras on. She started by blaming legacy infrastructure, then rogue engineering elements, then something about a possible external hack, but the logs didn't lie. The DNS change pushed by Tyler, sweet, clueless Tyler who had executed the last environment commit on Melissa's own instructions. No rollback strategy, no test mirror, just vibes and trust falls. I'd seen the audit trail, not because I hacked anything, no, I was off the grid, remember? But because, before I left, I made sure all system logs were piped to a read-only archive, timestamped and encrypted, standard procedure. The kind of thing people like Melissa called paranoid right before they needed it. They started looking for a scapegoat, but my access logs ended 3 days before launch. My alert hooks were wiped. My name wasn't on a single action in the failure cascade. I didn't burn it down. I just stopped holding up the beams. And here's the part no one talks about in stories like this, the preparation. Because when I submitted my PTO request, I also submitted something else, a resignation contingency. Just in case, my severance, approved in advance thanks to some strategic conversations with HR before half the department got cut. Vested equity, cleared and cashed out 3 days before staging went live. There was even a thank you note from legal in my inbox that I'd saved offline just in case. So while HQ scrambled through Slack threads like raccoons in a burning dumpster, I sat in the middle of the Mojave, barefoot by a cold fire pit, pouring campfire wine into a metal mug, watching the sky turn lavender with the kind of peace you can only earn by walking away at exactly the right moment. Vindication didn't come with fireworks. It came with stillness, and the faint sound of a hamster dancing forever. By the time I got home, Melissa had vanished like a fart in a server room. Official company line, extended wellness leave to recalibrate priorities. Unofficial reality, she'd gone to ground, deleted her LinkedIn, switched her Slack status to seedling, and ghosted the company she'd claimed to be reshaping with intention 3 months earlier. The hamster was still trending. Not front page anymore, but living its best afterlife as a tech cautionary tale. I saw a TikTok therapist use it as a metaphor for burnout. Someone else photoshopped it into a Harvard Business Review cover mock-up titled "When Culture Eats Infrastructure." The internet does not forget, it just remixes. When I walked into my apartment, everything felt both smaller and sharper, like the furniture had leaned in closer while I was gone. My laptop sat on the kitchen table, exactly where I'd left it. I plugged it in like defusing a bomb. Ding, 42 voicemails, 79 unread LinkedIn messages, 9 emails from Tyler alone, subject lines screaming urgent like that would make time go backward. But one message stood out, a recruiter from a VC firm I'd never heard of. Subject line, "You built it. Want to build something better?" I didn't open it, not yet. Instead, I brewed some actual coffee, not the campfire sludge I'd been pretending was rustic charm, and sat on my balcony with the laptop open and the breeze hitting just right. Then I saw it. Buried in the inbox chaos was an email from a junior PM named Casey. She'd been hired about 6 weeks before my PTO, quiet, sharp, too polite to last long in a meeting with Melissa. She'd once asked me what container orchestration meant, then actually listened to the answer. Her message was long. No punctuation crimes, no performative gifs. Just raw, "Hey, I know you're probably done with all this, but I just wanted to say thank you for everything you built. For the warnings you gave, I saw what happened. I knew the staging pointer was wrong. I told Tyler. He told Melissa. She said you were being dramatic and not to worry. I'm sorry I didn't push harder. If you ever want to build something that doesn't run on ego fumes, I'd follow you." Casey, I read it twice. saved it to a folder titled Proof It Wasn't in My Head. There was power in that quiet, not the loud, chest-beating kind. The other kind, the kind that comes from knowing you walked through fire, didn't scream, and came out with all your skin still intact. I opened the recruiter email next. Read it. Then read it again. It wasn't an offer, it was an invitation. And it started with 3 words Melissa had never once said to me: "We respect infrastructure." I closed the laptop, leaned back, and watched the clouds roll over the city like a backup syncing in real time. For the first time in years, I wasn't on call. I was in control. They finally found the origin of the hamster. Took a whole board-level postmortem and 2 third-party audits. But somewhere between the Slack message forensics and Tyler's panicked explanations about DNS being like the internet's vibes, they traced it back. Not to me, to her. Turns out the GIF was an ancient internal asset Melissa had uploaded during her intern days. Back when she was still Mel 24 and hadn't yet discovered the career power of saying absolutely nothing with maximum confidence. She dropped it into the shared image repo as a joke, named it Vibes GIF with a comment that said, "For when things break but you still want to seem chill lol." That file, long forgotten, got reshelved during one of her great consolidations of assets. Tyler, bless him, had used it as the placeholder index file for staging 2 quarters ago, copied straight from her own approved assets folder. Full circle. Poetic, really. Final report was labeled Incident Root Cause, Improper Environment Segmentation, and Asset Legacy Mismanagement. Translation: the hamster wasn't the bug, it was the feature. Internal training got a makeover, they rebranded the onboarding deck. Page 1 now opens with a slide titled, "Don't be the hamster." Below it, a screenshot of the launch stream, Melissa mid-sentence, hamster mid-twerk. Captioned, "Respect the systems. Respect the people who build them." Corporates. As for me, I took the call. The recruiter's voice was calm, a little amused, like someone already in on the punchline. No pitches, no slides, just "We saw what you did. You built it. Want to build something better?" There was no pause, no negotiation. Just the quiet sense that, for once, the right people had been paying attention. I said yes. Not out of spite, not to prove anything, just because I wanted to. I didn't torch the company on my way out. I didn't post a tell-all or leak the audit. I left something behind instead, a dance floor. A reminder. A glitch burned into their culture, forever looping. And somewhere out there at every third-rate tech conference, sandwiched between talks about authentic growth and AI empathy, there's a blooper reel. A mashup of startup disasters. And right in the middle, in glorious pixelated defiance, he still dances. Looping. Grinning, untouchable, the hamster, my legacy. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.